Good night, everybody. I can't see you all that clearly because the light is right on me, but we will do what we have to do. I am Wilfred Abrahams. I have the honor of representing Christchurch East for the next general election, whenever it is called. We've been lucky in Christchurch East for the most part. We've had some good, decent, hard-working representatives in the past. We've had Johnny Cheltenham, as he then was. We've had Reggie Farley. We've had some good, decent people. It hurts my heart. It hurts my heart that the hard-working people in Christchurch East, the decent, hard-working people, the fishermen, the fisherwomen, the farmers, the entrepreneurs, the business people, the hard-working, salt-of-the-earth people are now being subjected to this political nuisance who is now the representative for Christchurch East. The man is a political mosquito. He can't do much good, but he can do a lot of harm. There is nobody in the world whose name more aptly suits them. He could not have had a better name if he tried. Low. Low in name, low in nature, low in performance. You know, everybody else in the world, when you're born, you always try to do better for yourself. As you go through the world, you try to improve yourself. You try to achieve better and better things. Not this fella. He is content in mediocrity. And not just content in mediocrity, he wants to pull the constituency and the whole country down with him. This man has moved as a minister from one despicable act to the next one. Connect the dots. A lot of y'all have forgotten that at one time he was the minister responsible for water. This man who tries to clothe his sins in piety and claiming some divine connection to God. At one time, he was the minister responsible for water. That was when the reverse osmosis plant had gotten funding. The government of Barbados got approval for a reverse osmosis plant in the Bell. Had that plant been put in then, a lot of the water contamination issues we're having in the Bell would have been a thing of the past. But this man, as the minister responsible for water, decided, no, that was not important enough. What was more important was to build a multi-million-dollar Barbados Water Authority headquarters. A lot of people have forgotten that he once was the minister responsible for water. But connect the dots. He was the minister, or is the minister responsible for the Sanitation Service Authority. The Sanitation Service Authority, perhaps one of the most important governmental departments in Barbados. And he has presided over the decimation of the Sanitation Service Authority. All of you who have been following, we all know it takes 35 trucks to properly service Barbados. You know that. I know that. Even little Aaron, Cynthia's grandson, knows that. Why is it that the minister does not know that? Why is it that most days we are suffering with 12 to 15 trucks trying to service Barbados? Why is it that his incompetence as a minister is being tolerated by Frundle Stewart, where garbage is piling up all over Barbados? When we had that massive flood a couple days ago, if you watch the videos, garbage washing down the street, bags and bags of garbage floating down the street. All of you have been subjected to pileups of garbage. If you haven't had it at your own house, you have driven around and you have seen it happening. This is the minister who, responsible for the Sanitation Service Authority, imposed a tipping fee. We all said from the beginning, come on, it's common sense. If people could go and dump truckloads of garbage free at the appropriate place in Vaucluse, and you now charging them $40, $50 a ton, what do you think is going to happen? Well, they're not going to take it and pay $40 to drop it in Vaucluse when they could dump it in a gully for free. We told the man that. He said we were encouraging lawlessness in Barbados. It's not about lawlessness. It's about being practical. He was warned. But he went ahead with this. His sole plan, he went ahead with this. We had a problem last year and the year before with all the gullies and waterways chock-a-block with garbage, and that results in flooding. You know, up to now, those gullies and waterways have not even been properly cleaned yet. Low, you know, I trying to be fair. I trying to find something redeemable in the man, but I'm having difficulties. I'm trying, today is Sunday, I'm a good Christian fella. I don't want to say bad and not say some good. So the good is that he drives a real nice car. I would give you that one. But that's about it. He has the legacy of involving himself personally in all of the statutory corporations he's responsible for. The man likes to handpick who gets contracts, who does not get contracts. If you get a contract, how much money you get and when, and what the terms of that contract are. He is the minister who had a man from one of his statutory boards resign, who wrote the prime minister. This man was a dem, you know, and he wrote the prime minister saying he can no longer work with this minister. He is interfering too much and compromising the board. Did the prime minister move him? No, not at all. Look, but I tell you what it did. Low is the man who said a certain businessman in Barbados can't get a contract for Sanitation Service Authority. He could never even get a contract to pick up a dead dog. Y'all remember that? When the minister found himself in hospital, the first thing from the steward did, he didn't waste any time. He appointed another person to act as a minister, and they quickly gave away contracts to waste haulers, including the same man who could not pick up a dead dog for Low. Low picked himself up off of his hospital bed, checked himself out of hospital, went back to his ministry before he was supposed to go back. Y'all heard the prime minister say this was a 6-month program or for as long as it takes. A couple of weeks later, out comes the minister, and he said, no, that was a 2-week pilot project. So I know I'm going to decide who gets these contracts. He gave more time to somebody and less time to somebody else. We heard that these contracts were for $411 per hour. To pick up garbage for $411 per hour. I'm not good at mathematics, but I figure that at $411 per hour over the course of a year for 4 contractors, you're probably looking at about $5 million. I could be wrong, but it's up in the millions. Imagine how many garbage trucks the ministry could have bought for that money at $250,000 a truck. You want to talk about wastage? Then connect the dots. He was the man responsible for the NCC. Before the last election, Low took on record numbers of people just before the election and told the people of Barbados, if the Barbados Labour Party gets in, all of y'all are going to go home. The government got it, and then what happened? What was the first thing they did? Sent home thousands of people and a whole set of people from the NCC. You have hard-working people at the NCC who now had to be begging to get what was due to them after they had been terminated, wrongfully terminated. Now, we are proud people. Bajans don't like to beg for money. It's hard enough to beg when it's not yours. If it is yours and you deserve it because somebody did you wrong, you legally are entitled to it. You should not have to beg for that. These people are still begging and still scrunching for their due entitlement, and I put that squarely at the feet of the minister. He knew what he was doing, and he put the NCC and the people in trouble for that, and he must be held responsible. Beautify Barbados, connect the dots. They came in and they cut Beautify Barbados, and they cut people from the drainage department responsible for debushing and clearing. You all know what happened in Barbados? If Columbus was to come back now to Barbados, he would recognize Barbados. Because Barbados is as overgrown as it was when Columbus first discovered us. And that is as a result of Low. The floodings that happened the other day, right? The floodings that happened the other day, that happened by accident. That was not as much rain as it was in Thomas, but it had more flooding. Barbados should not have had that amount of flooding for that amount of rain. And that is as a result of our drains being clogged, there being no proper drainage maintenance, there being no proper cleaning of wells, and those are squarely within his ministry. You remember JS used to have this thing on TV when they say, do this and do that before the high winds come? Everybody remembers that? Before the high winds come? So they're saying you have to be prepared. You can't look to be cleaning the drains in the middle of the rainy season. You have to clean them before and maintain them through the rainy season. You have to have a team on standby that if a well is blocked and is flooding, somebody can go and clear that well. There is nothing. This ministry is limping along. When they had the flooding, all of the 6-inch pumps that they used to pump off water when it's flooding, none of the 6-inch pumps were working. A couple of the 4 and 3-inch pumps were working, but most of the hoses were full of water. There is no maintenance going on in that department. Connect the dots. You remember Cahill? Over the last couple of years, while this minister should have been paying attention to what is happening in his ministry, he was more concerned himself about a $700 million waste-to-energy plant in St. Thomas that nobody in Barbados wanted. It was a bad idea from the beginning. It was a bad idea in the middle. It was a bad idea at the end. Everybody is crying out about this waste-to-energy plant. We knew it was not going to get off the ground. The people in St. Thomas would never let that happen. The one time you've ever seen Barbados united on something, it was that waste-to-energy plant had to go. But that minister found himself acquiring land in Vaucluse to construct the headquarters for Cahill. Although everybody knew it was not going to start. You want to talk about wasting money? That is it. Look, I got to bring it home. I believe that there are 3 C's in politics: caring, concern, and competence. A government and a minister needs to be caring, concerned, and competent. You need to care about the people you are trying to represent. You need to be concerned about their well-being. You need to be competent in your functions as a minister or representing the people of Barbados. If you fail in any one of them, you are not fit to represent anybody. This is the most uncaring, unconcerned, incompetent government that we have ever had. They fail on the 3 C's. The only C that this government may end up being remembered for is corruption. Look, people keep telling me that there's no difference between politicians. I find that offensive. They say we're the same. I believe politics is about representation. You cannot avoid people and then claim to represent them. To represent people, you have to do what I have been doing and what the other members of the BLP have been doing. Get into the communities, rub shoulders with and talk to people. Find out what their concerns are and then decide as a group how best to address those. You cannot avoid people and then think you know what their problems are or what is of concern to them. I am not here to hide from anybody. I put myself forward as a representative because I am concerned about people, because I care about the people in Christchurch East, because I am competent to represent their interests. I have fought hard in the opposition in the Senate, and to be honest, I actually look forward to representing the people in government, because the work we do in the opposition, when it gets into government, it must be a lot easier. Look, this is our pledge to you. I pledge that we will listen to you and represent you fairly and transparently with integrity. I pledge to you that we will clean up Barbados and keep it clean. We will minimize the health and safety risks presented by all that bush and garbage. We will implement a sustained and sustainable waste management program in Barbados that works. We as a government will bring back transparency and accountability. Hear this clearly. If you didn't hear anything else, hear this. Under the next Barbados Labour Party government, there will be zero tolerance for corruption. This Barbados Labour Party government led by Mayor Amor Motley, is ready. We are focused and we are united. So, I stood here to prosecute the case, the people against Dennis Lowe and the rest of them. I have now presented my case. It is for y'all to judge. So, Mr. Chairman, the court of public opinion is now in session. The people versus Dennis Lowe and the members of the Democratic Labour Party government on the charges of neglect in the Ministry of Environment leading to the complete overgrowth of our communities and country. What say you, the people, guilty or not guilty? On the charge of total and complete failure as a Minister of Drainage and responsibility for the disastrous flooding on November 29th. What say you, guilty or not guilty? On the charge of victimizing the retrenched NCC workers and treating them in the most offhand and callous way. What say you? On the charge of presiding over the collapse of the Sanitation Service Authority. What say you? On the charge of being the worst minister in the worst government that this land, Barbados, has ever had. What say you? I can't hear you. One more time. Mr. Chairman, the people have returned the verdict of guilty on all counts. And the sentence must be, when the next election is called, the flogging, the public flogging with the election X. You all have to do this. You owe it to yourselves, your children, and your children's children. This government and these crippling ministers must go. Good night. God bless you all.